learned how to make a sound out of the ney, and in this lesson I'll show how to make notes with the ney. A sound is not the same as a note. A note has some musical characteristics, and it involves opening and closing the hole as well as blowing. Let's start with holding the ney. The right hand is positioned like this, between these two holes and the thumb here, and it's holding the ney like this. And an additional support finger is either this one or this one. And depending which mode you're playing in, one of these holes never gets opened. For example, this finger never moved. Or in the other mode, this finger remains fixed. So, how do we play notes? Well, we close the appropriate holes, and I refer to fingering charts on my website. And then you blow, and you have to shape your mouth and tongue to be in tune. If I play this note, F, depending on my lip position, I can get a whole bunch of different pitches, and of course only one is correct. So you have to be able to play and listen and tune the notes with your mouth. It helps a lot to play along with some recording or with another instrument to learn this. Now let's play a note. What is a note? A note is something that has a beginning, a body and an end. So let's start with the body. That does not sound very good, because repetitive sounds that's the same is not very musical. You tend to blot it out. That's why if you listen to a note like that, you'll get irritated. So you have to do something to enliven it. So what you have at your disposal is basically pitch and volume. Now the pitch has to be fixed, so you cannot really change that, but you can play with the volume. So do something to the note by changing the airstream so it livens up. Another important addition to the body of a note is vibrato. So vibrato is an oscillation of pitch or volume or both, and it's done mainly by oscillating the lips. In the higher registers, the lungs also play a role in oscillating the airflow. Here the vibrato is done mainly by changing the air pressure from here, like that. That covers the body of the note. Now, to begin a note, we can just start blowing. And it would be like singing. Ah, ah. But when you're singing words, you sometimes want to sing da. And that we imitate on the ney by forcefully expelling the air from the throat or from the tongue by saying or to start the note more forcefully, to articulate it. use the tongue, t, or the throat. Hassan Nahid uses only the throat, so it's possible to play without using the tongue for this at all. The tongue tends to be a little harder because you have to put the tongue in a position to say t, and then immediately it has to jump to the right place to produce the note. Whereas if you say the tongue can remain in the position that's correct for producing sound already. Especially for the high notes, if you say t, it tends to make it easier to start the notes. So that's the beginning of the note. To end the note, you can simply stop blowing. Or you can make a different ending by briefly lifting one of the other fingers. Really not long enough for a note to sound, but to hear a clicking type of sound. And you can vary how short that extra note is, giving different effects. And when you're singing, it would be something like yeah, yeah, something like that. I'm not a singer. Another way to end the note is briefly close a hole below it. Especially Mousavi is very fond of ending a phrase like that. Again, you hit the note below, but really so short that you don't really hear a particular note. Again, with the note above it, it doesn't have to be the next hole that you're opening. It can be, but it doesn't have to be. It sounds different, so it gives you some way to end the note in various ways. To begin the note, it's also possible to briefly sound another note before it, and it's a grace note essentially. Or below it. Now to put several notes together, you have to find a way to make a transition from one note to the other. So let's start by making a transition from one note to the same note. The simplest way is probably just to say to distinguish the notes.